This is the RV Advisor Podcast with your host, Tom Alexander. Get all the latest information, trends, advice from experts, stories from the road, and more in the world of recreational vehicles. Now, here's Tom.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to the RV Advisor Podcast. I'm Tom Alexander, and it's great to have our guest with us, joining us from Elkhart, Indiana. I think you've probably all heard of that place. If you're an RVer, Elkhart, Indiana. It is Corey and Jessie Nickerson. Hi, Nickersons. How are you?
Hey.
Hey, we're great. How are you, Tom?
Doing well. So not in the RV today. You're kind of holed up in a hotel room. That's cool. That's all right.
It is a little break. Very different for us.
Well,
yeah,
it's a
I'm
little
sure.
nerve-wracking too. Our RV is up in the air right now, getting new axles and disc brakes and suspension, everything going on.
Lots of fun stuff happening with Lippert, so we're excited. But it is strange to see it ripped apart.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. How's the weather in Elkhart today?
Perfect.
It is gorgeous.
Yes. What is it, like 75, 80?
About 75,
No
80.
humidity.
Beautiful.
Perfect. Well, we're here in South Florida, where I'm looking out the window at sunny blue skies, but I know the humidity is like through the roof, and it's about 95 degrees. So
Exactly. We had it on Florida about mid-May, so it was getting toasty.
Yeah, I'll tell you, the best time here is like November through April. That's when we got Elkhart temperatures the way they are today.
That's exactly right. And we're normally there sometime.
We spend a lot of time in South Florida.
We do, actually.
Homestead. Yep.
Yeah, we do. We work at the Everglades Outpost. Every winter, we volunteer working with the animals at the Wildlife Refuge down in Homestead.
Wow. Oh, that's great. So I know, after visiting your site and your Instagram, I see that animals and animal care and all that is really important to you folks. And I know, and
a lot of volunteering.
Say again?
We volunteer a lot.
Yeah, volunteering.
Lots of different places.
Lots of volunteering. And tell us about the origin of it. I mean, finding our someday. I'm guessing is, people often say, well, someday I'm gonna do this. Yeah. Someday I'm gonna do that.
Right.
It's always, I don't want to call it procrastinating, but it's always off in the distance somewhere.
Yeah, you set yourself up to failure, really.
So our story kind of began many, many years ago. My father was diagnosed with Lou Gehrig's when he was 46. And at that time, they gave him 2 years, and we ended up getting 7.5, which was miraculous in and of itself. But it altered our lives in many ways. We owned our own businesses, and we kind of started altering our work. I was one of his caregivers. That's how we started homeschooling our children, because we wanted them to have time with him. My dad passed away about 6 years ago, and he never got his someday. He was 53, and he had worked his whole life for us. And so we just decided, with a change in perspective and just kind of seeing things in a different light, that we were going to go live the life we wanted to live right now and not wait. Because tomorrow's never promised, so we're gonna find our someday now, and it really did set us up that whole period of our life to be able to do this. So it's been wonderful for us to be able to learn flexibility and to already be homeschooling our kids and to already work for ourselves. And even though that wasn't what we did in Maine, wasn't necessarily exactly what we're doing right now, we took the skill set that we had and kind of altered it to be able to find our someday.
Wow, that's great. Wow, what a story. ALS, obviously something that's affects a lot of people, and the outcome is never great.
It's one of the most horrific diseases I feel on this planet. It was very rough, but again, we're so thankful for the time that we got with him. It was a lot more than most people get.
Yeah, wow. That's to have a prognosis of 2 years and get 7.5 is pretty great.
I attest that to her quitting her job and homeschooling the girls, and the girls and him spending so much time together. It gave him something to live for.
It extended his life.
It's amazing how that kind of care, your loved ones around you, and those, that sense of purpose, as you said, can that brighter outlook can extend. It's amazing. We've certainly seen that before, and I'm so happy that you had that extra time with your dad. And now you've got now you're living the dreams, like you said. You're out there living it. You're doing it. You got two young girls, and you're out there traveling. And I've always said that travel is one of the most educational things you can share with your children.
Absolutely.
When I was a young kid, my parents, young boy, my parents took me to Greece and I spent a summer there. And and a lot of that's my background. I met a lot of family, and it just changed my entire perspective on so much. And it was such an educational thing. So kudos. I mean, it's just awesome. You guys are out there. What are your kids learning? What tell me about them. Tell me about their experience on the road.
The kids, they have a regular old school program that we have hodgepodge. She's better explaining that, but like what you just touched on before, like what are kids in school for? It's to prepare them for life. It's to prepare them to go out into the world. And so on top of the regular schooling that we do now, they are out in the world. They are experiencing life and dealing with a lot of different scenarios as an adult almost.
I think this lifestyle really helps create like the well-rounded child, in the sense that we've homeschooled obviously for the whole time. So this is my 10th year of homeschooling. And it's always been our philosophy that obviously like academics is very important, reading, writing, arithmetic, all those things. But I really wanted to make sure even before we hit the road that we were focusing on the whole child, you know, beyond the basics. I also want to build character in my children. I want them to be honest and kind, and I want them to have common sense, and I want them to be able to learn things themselves. And so we feel like those are really important things in our educational philosophy, I guess. And I feel like especially the volunteering that has just kind of come naturally in our travels. We weren't thinking that when we left, but it's what's evolved. Those are, if you ask our girls, those are their favorite experiences: being on the ranch, working on the farm in Alaska that we volunteered at, working at the wildlife refuge. Those are the places where they're learning, you know, different responsibilities. They're learning management skills. They're learning communication skills, you know, all these real life experiences that are going to prepare
direction from other adults
exactly,
besides ourselves.
not just us.
Yeah, right. They're interacting with other adults, and I'm guessing other kids their age at times. That's great. So they've got the socialization going. Although in these days, you know, you got to be a little careful until all this madness.
You know, it's so funny that socialization is always the hot topic with homeschooling. It's the question you get all the time. And I mean, I think that as far as socialization goes, I think our girls are able to communicate with any age demographic. So that's all the socialization that I care about, is that they can have conversations with teenagers and adults and little children, and you know.
That's terrific. Yeah, they've got it. Once you get that going, you know, you're sets you up for life, a good life.
Exactly.
The communication's important. We're going to find out a whole lot more about everything you're doing. FindingOurSomeday.com is the website. It's also where you can find them on Instagram, Finding Our Someday. And if you want to find your someday, it's a good place to start. We're speaking with Corey and Jessie Nickerson. This is the RV Advisor Podcast. I'm Tom Alexander. Back in a moment.
The RVACA is a charitable organization protecting the rights of RV owners. With your help, we'll work with dealers and manufacturers to ensure quality controls in place prior to delivery of an RV. Additionally, the RVACA provides assistance to disaster relief victims. Visit rvaca.org.
We are back on the RV Advisor Podcast, and I'm speaking with Corey and Jessie Nickerson. Their site is findingOurSomeday.com, and of course, they have a great YouTube presence as well, and a lot of followers, and they do a lot of videos on YouTube. The four of them, so their two daughters as well as Jessie and Corey. So, tell us a little bit about what we see on the YouTube channel.
We see what we see.
That's how I feel. I dream all night and day. Could you give us a chance if you mind? And I deserve a place one last time. Could you give us a chance? We'll be so fine.
We wanted to make sure that we could, you know, put together something that allows someone to feel like they're traveling with us and having the experiences that we have. And originally it wasn't our plan to
do YouTube.
YouTube. We were just filming. Corey actually has a photography and filming background in the sense that he was a professional drone real estate videographer and photographer before we hit the road. So you'll get a lot of that
and stuff, but we stopped doing weddings.
in our past life. But yeah, the YouTube thing just kind of evolved in the fact that we were just documenting our travels. We were only going to travel for a year. We were actually leaving Maine, which is where we're from, and then heading south to get to some warmer weather, and thought, well, if we're redoing everything and restarting over in a new place, let's travel for a month. And that kept growing and growing.
And here we are 2.5 years later. So we actually didn't edit videos. We shot film, but we didn't edit the videos because we didn't want to. Editing takes a lot of time, so we didn't want to spend our time. We only had a year editing video. So we did decide we wanted to do YouTube. So our YouTube is now, we're in catch-up phase.
Right.
Trying to catch up to that 1 year, and we're getting there now.
We're getting close, but it's a little delayed in YouTube time, as we like to call it.
Yeah. So you've got folks that follow your adventures, and the places you see, like you said, Corey, they see what you see, they see, which is that's kind of, you know, what it should really all be about, right? You're kind of documenting the events and sharing your adventures. So what's the YouTube channel? Is it also called Finding Our Sunday, or where? Finding Our Sunday on YouTube, so you can check them out there. So after Elkhart, where do we go from? Where's next?
Well,
we have a couple things.
We have a couple things, like Michigan recently just added some new restrictions. So our plan was to go up into Michigan, up the peninsula. Yeah. But now we're not quite sure if we're going to head out west again, or we're just going to go a little bit faster through Michigan at this point.
We'll see. But the main next goal is to get back to the ranch that we usually work at every summer. This year we delayed on purpose a little bit. So we've done, the first year we were there for a branding. Last year we were there for a cattle drive where we pushed 1,000 head of cattle over 50 miles on multiple drives. And this year we're hoping for fall elk hunts. So we'll see what happens.
Wow. So, okay. So, man, you guys are really, you know, that's like the Great West lifestyle you got going on there. That's pretty cool. A cattle drive, to me,
the cattle drive footage is
we're getting to that
in
soon.
About 2 episodes.
Yeah.
I cannot wait to edit that footage.
Now, I've always seen a cattle drive in movies where you just see this great big swath of, you know, it just looks like a dark blanket over landscape, and you see the dust come up, and you hear the music, and, you know, it's all this great moment of it's like a gigantic pilgrimage. Is it like that in real life?
It really is, except for the music is mooing.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, there's no orchestra out there with the conductor going like this, right?
I can imagine it in my head.
He can add it in
as
his
I'm
head.
editing
I was going to say, that's the editor in him that's like, I know exactly what I'm going to put to this.
Because the scene you're describing, we have a ton of drone footage. Just, you can just see, it looks like it's spread out over miles.
Yeah.
Sometimes cattle.
That's amazing. You know, you just need to, you know, if the budget will allow, Corey, just hire John Williams to score the whole thing next time. You know, just, you know, you'll have a big orchestra out there. No, that's amazing. I can't wait to check out some of that footage, and you know, as a filmmaker, my son is a filmmaker. He's a young filmmaker. In fact, he's
awesome.
Yeah, he's won some student awards for films and is about to make his professional debut on a project. So we're excited about that. But
amazing.
It's
well, I'm just a wannabe vlogger. He's an actual professional.
Well, I'm sure you're more than that. I have a feeling you're a bit more of a professional than that. It's funny how people are. They'll be very modest about their work, but then when you see it, it's like, wow, you know, that's really, you know, because it's really, it's all here, right? It's in the eye and what you capture. Right. And if you can tell a story with pictures, you know, that's a pretty great talent.
You can definitely do that.
I'm sure he can. So, Well, listen, I just before we wrap things up, I want to tell you how much I appreciate you coming on, and it's a lot of fun doing this podcast because we often speak with folks who do unusual things, or they have, but for a living, or just taking their travels on the road. But
Yep.
What I find most is, besides the community of RVers in general, and the family and how close knit it is, oftentimes it's inspiring to someone like myself who's sort of, here I am in isolation in my home studio with my keyboards behind me and everything else, and I'm not really going anywhere.
Right.
But what I think for a lot of people, a lot of us can live vicariously through your adventures, and hopefully for some inspire, our own someday. So,
Exactly.
and
Exactly.
I think what you guys are doing, it's a great philosophy, and you guys are living it. So that's really cool. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much
Thanks
for
for having
having
us.
us. And we do hope that we can bring that inspiration, whether it's someone living vicariously, like someone who was in this position that my dad was, where he was not able to leave his house and not able to do those things, but could watch somebody doing it and feel like he was experiencing it himself. So we hope that that's the case.
Well, that's wonderful. And it's a great story, that, you gave your dad all those extra years. FindingOurSomeday.com is the place to go. And of course, you can, using that same address, you can find them on YouTube and on Instagram, and of course their own website, findingOurSomeday.com. Corey and Jessie Nickerson, thank you so much.
Thanks for having
Thanks
us,
for having
Tom.
us.
This is the RV Advisor Podcast. I'm Tom Alexander. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time. So long, everybody.